Welcome to the Record Player, everybody. Today we are joined by two of Canada's most successful singer-songwriters. Both have maintained hugely successful solo careers, and between them, they've written songs for other artists like Rod Stewart, Chicago Heart, Joe Cocker, Cyndi Lauper, Olivia Newton-John, and Cher. Despite being married for 34 years, they are set to release their first full album together called He Sang, She Sang on May 6th. Amy, Sky, and Marc Jordan are with us today on TRP. How you doing, guys?
Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. 34 years of marriage, and this is the very first full record that you guys have done together. How come it took such a long time to get here?
Well, darling, you answer that one.
Oh, me, darling. Yes, we wanted to stay married, basically.
That makes sense.
And
it's hard recording together. It really is difficult because you have to sing together and you have to meld your styles, which is hard. You know, when you've been doing something one way for 40 years, and it's difficult. Working in the studios work hard.
Yeah, we love music so much that we wanted to keep what was between us musically fun and no pressure, so we've collaborated lots over the years, but it's always been just here and there and spontaneous and without any kind of goal in mind, but we decided there was a time that we probably should try something together, and it's ended up being a really beautiful collection of songs. And our voices do sound great together.
Well, yeah, I was going to say you guys have done things together in the past, just never a full entire project like this. My wife and I have almost divorced over a Billy bookcase, so I get the not wanting to, I get the wanting to stay married part. Do you think it's easier to collaborate together as a couple, or because you can be brutally honest with each other, or do you think that makes it even harder to do?
Well, I think it's harder. I think
I
it's harder because you're invested in so many minute and myriad ways that you just gotta be careful, and you gotta be honest, and you gotta try to do your best, But it is hard. I found it hard.
At the same time,
but I love what Amy does too. So
I was going to say, at the same time, we each have very strong opinionated people who've been on our own artistic paths for the 34 years we've been together. But at the same time, I think we're each other's biggest fans. So while we might come up against places where we disagree about what should be there, there's other times when we were recording that Marc would sing something or come up with something. I'd be like, oh my God, that's amazing. And now I get to harmonize to that. So there's a lot of fun as well, a lot of discovery, a lot of creativity.
There's 50-50, I'd say maybe 60-40 of original songs and covers. How do you decide which songs you're going to cover? How do you decide which songs get on the album? Are these just songs you've heard on the radio or always loved, or bucket list of songs you've wanted to sing?
It's a little of both, isn't it? I mean, Amy and I, we've driven back and forth to Nashville and Florida. When we get in the car, we put the radio on, or we put CDs on, or we put Spotify on, and we listen to music. And so hours and hours and hours and hours through the years. And we've just found songs that we love, that are just special, and songs that we can sing well. And so we found that, right?
Yeah, and also on those long car trips, we did some sort of arrangement work. For example, like one of the songs on the record is a Richard Thompson song, Dimming of the Day. And we cut it in Nashville, and we came up with a very different arrangement and groove than Richard had done on the cover he did with Bonnie Raitt. And there's this big long tag and we would play it in the car, and I'd put on the recorder on my phone, and we would just jam over the end of it and come up with new ad libs and new things to do. And a lot of what you hear on the record on that tag was sort of worked out on these long car trips.
The original songs on the record seem to, from what I've heard, have a little bit of a family theme to it. You guys have written some songs for the kids. You mentioned the kids off the hop before we started rolling. There's a love song on there that from Marc to you. Were these songs that were already written, or were they written for this project? A bit of both.
There's only one song, two original songs that were no, I think about it, there's three original songs were written especially for the project. One is Falling for You. The other is Can We Stay, which I wrote with Matt Rawlings, who's an amazing Nashville piano player, songwriter, producer. And the third is Long Shot, that I wrote with Marc's and my longtime collaborator, Anthony Vanderberg. And the original song of Marc's, I have no doubt, was a song that Marc, you had written previously, and I always thought it would make a great duet for us. And yeah, so and then some of the other ones were like the song about our kids, I'll Give You Wings. I had not recorded it before, but I had written it before we knew we were going to do the duet record. Yeah.
Do each of you have a favorite song on the record so far?
Well, I love I'll Give You Wings. That's my favorite song on the record that Amy wrote.
I think I'd have to agree. And you know what? There was some tears in the studio when we recorded that, because that's, I mean, really, our life work are our children, our family.
Yeah, and being in the studio together kind of brought that whole thing together, I'm sure. So.
Yeah.
And actually, we all of our kids, our daughter, our son, and our son-in-law make little cameo appearances on the record too.
Oh, that's cool. Mental health has always been a big thing for both of you. You guys have both been involved in that. It's been obviously amplified over the last couple of years with COVID, affecting everyone in different ways. Tell me a little bit about the mental health initiatives that you two are involved in.
Well, Marc, do you want to talk about the advocacy you've done on learning disabilities?
Well, yeah. The first of all, I have to say that I got an amazing I began to understand a different angle on loneliness and depression and just and kind of a hopeless feeling. During this COVID thing, it's been basically almost 3 years that I haven't really been able to work like I was working, and I definitely spiraled down, and it was a real learning experience for me, and now that we're coming out of it, it's I'm very excited, and I'm dyslexic, quite severely dyslexic, and even before they knew, what that word, they didn't even have a name for it when I was to school, and so I've been asked to speak about it and write about it, and it limits your options in some ways. So when the isolation started, it was a double-edged sword. I really felt my own limitations to do other things, but at the same time, I've tried to learn through the years to let my mind detour a bit and float a bit and dream a bit. And so that's what I talk about when I talk about that. And it's so it served me, and it's been a hindrance, but it's also been I've also made it work in a lot of ways, and other people can too.
That's great. When I talk about mental health, it's not necessarily just all about mental health. It's about doing things properly the right way, being with family. Amy, you were involved. You were hosting. Are you still doing hosting work for? Was it Rogers Television? You were doing some stuff for parenting.
Actually, not currently, but I did host a show on raising very young children several years ago. But I definitely, you got to practice self-care in a time like COVID, mental health self-care. And you're right. Connection is really, really vital to mood and to self-esteem. So we've tried to stay in touch with people virtually when we couldn't see them. And we even did a virtual concert last June from our studio, like a full-on concert with our full band. And you definitely, you got to eat right, you got to sleep right, you got to exercise. All those things that contribute to healthy mood is super important when you're just under stress all the time, as we all are with this pandemic.
Was this record made virtually in different areas? Were you all in the studio at the same time, or was it a true COVID record like a lot of people have made in the last 2 years?
A bit of a hybrid, wasn't it, Aim?
Well, we started the record. The first tracks for this record were recorded in Nashville in 2014. Oh. So we really took our time. I did think we did 3 separate recording sessions in Nashville, and then we did some recording here in Toronto. So it really happened over time. I have to say that most of the recording, I think most of the principal recording was done before COVID started. I think the mixing happened during COVID, but that we could do long distance. Okay. Yeah, we've taken our time on this project.
I was going to say a long time.
You know what? Again, sort of also for like mental and emotional health reasons, because we wanted it to stay fun. Right. So we would do it just when we had the time, when we weren't under stress, and we would do it little chunks at a time. And actually, the record's been ready for quite some time. We haven't released it because we couldn't tour. So I think we were originally going to release it almost a year and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
And now the tour hopefully is going to happen in November. We're doing one appearance this Thursday for actually a women's brain health fundraiser. And Marc is doing some touring with Marc. It's this Saturday, right?
This Saturday, yeah, on the 30th of April at Aeolian Hall in London. I'm going out and playing some of the new stuff on my solo record, and which isn't out yet, but I wanted to play the songs and see which ones work. And Aeolian Hall is a beautiful sounding room to do that in.
Do you know when that record's out, Marc?
I'm not exactly sure. It's just finished and we're just mastering it. So probably I don't know.
Well, we're promoting the duet record. You know what? The lead times for these projects are so long, right? We're promoting the duet record all this year. We're going to tour for the duet record in November. And Marc also tours with a band called Lunch at Allen's, which is Marc and Ian Thomas and Mary McLaughlin and Cindy Church. And you're touring in June and October with Lunch at Allen's, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So, but our duet tour, our proper duet tour won't happen until November. And we'll do a proper, I think, a live launch in Toronto in November as well.
Looking forward to that. Is that just Canada, or are you going to get international?
Yeah, just Canada at this point. Yeah.
You mentioned collaboration with Marc doing with Cindy Church and Mary McLaughlin and Ian Thomas. You did some collaborating as well yourself, Amy, with Olivia Newton-John and Beth Nielsen Chapman. Is there any other collaborations on the horizon? I mean, you're collaborating with each other. Is it any other stuff coming up with them?
Well,
no, I know.
Yeah, no, I mean, right now we have so many projects in the air. Right. Marc's writing Marc just had Rod Stewart. Why don't you talk about that? And I don't know if you want to talk about the artist you're writing with, or if you don't want to say that publicly, but it's a pretty big artist. writing for.
Well, yeah, I mean, Rod just did a song of mine that I'd written years ago with Stefan Macchio called Tears of Hercules, which I've recorded. And it was the title track of his new record, which came out a couple of months ago. And so that's exciting. That's been a long relationship for me with him. And he calls me his tiny sausage. I know I call him Sir Rod. He calls me my tiny sausage. So
He should call you Sir Tiny Sausage.
Sir Tiny Sausage. But he's a lovely man, and Amy, of course, worked so much with Olivia that it's crazy.
Well, we have one thing in common. You made a film with Olivia Newton-John, Score,
Yeah.
the hockey movie, where you were married to Olivia Newton-John. And when I was 8 years old, I told my mother and my father and anyone else who would listen that I was one day going to marry Olivia Newton-John. So we have that somewhat in common. Mine
was fabulous while it lasted.
Mine never came true, but you mentioned Lunch at Allen's. I can't wait to get you back on to see that, because that is a great collaboration. I can't wait to see you guys back on the road. That's going to be great, and touring through Canada. The album is out on May the 6th. It's called He Sang, She Sang. Amy, Sky, and Marc Jordan, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for joining me today, and best of luck with the new record.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. Take care.